Who am I? That's probably a question you've asked yourself a couple times. A question humans have pondered for millennia, something that never seems to have a straight answer. But what if there was a way to finally determine that answer? A way to understand ourselves better through our own technology?
Hello, hi, I'm Shabu, and I've been probably playing VR chat for around, 3 to 4 years by now, and I have experienced many things so far. And every day you start to appreciate things more and more, and you come across things that you like or find along the way, like this bread world. You find treasures everywhere, man, I tell you. Yeah.
I guess I started in the beginning of COVID, around the time when I was getting into high school, sort of. I started going into VR chat because I felt like I was sort of like an outcast where I live. It didn't feel too right because a lot of the people there were very discriminative and it just wasn't working. And I came on VR chat and to find all these different kinds of people that all face similar problems to me. And I just felt a connection and I've been on it ever since.
I got into VR, I think it was around like Christmas 2019. I got a Quest 2 out of the box. I think I played all your classic games like Beat Saber and that. Anyway, yeah, so eventually got into VR chat, and then on and off with that for a while.
And a few of my friends who actually introduced me to VR and VR chat itself said you should get the Oculus that's coming out soon. And they were like, it's going to be nauseating at first, but once you get used to it, it's going to be totally fun. There's some cool people that you can meet, such as yourself and other people that I've met on here.
It's probably Christmas of 2020. You know, you get the relatives. Relatives give you cash money because they don't know what you get. They don't know what to get you when you're like past the 10. I really got into it at the perfect time. I started readily playing VR in May of 2020. I downloaded VR chat. I downloaded Blades and Sorcery, Beat Saber, and the generic VR games that everyone plays, like Pavlov and whatnot. I got real sank into those before I even decided to open up VR chat because there was something just so ominous about that world. As soon as I got into it, it was horrifying. It was daunting. It was like, holy crap! There's just people here that I don't know, and this is kind of horrifying. But occasionally you run into the right people at the right times, and you've got friends for life.
I sadly can't work due to mental health issues, and VR chat on PC, and then learn how to do my own models and that as a way to distract myself and learn new skills. And
I got the idea for my VR podcast on a whim. I was thinking to myself, I want to do a podcast with my friends because we have really good chemistry and whatnot. It occurred to me that I hadn't seen anything done in VR chat yet, so I thought it was a good opportunity or good content opportunity to do some content in VR because I hadn't seen a VR podcast. I tried looking it up. I hadn't seen anything, so I just said, what the hell? Why not,
The term NPC stands for non-player character in video game terms. It's used to describe characters inside of a virtual space that aren't directly controlled by a player, but instead are run by AI programmed by the developers. Somewhat recently, the term has been used online to describe people who display similar behavior to that of an autonomous AI, also known as NPC behavior. It might be a simple joke term, a memeable portrayal of a person used for likes on some social media platform. However, there might be a deep-rooted meaning to be found in a simple joke phrase.
Well, I'm not that familiar with the term, but I know an NPC is like a character that has this certain input or output, like they have like a fictional pattern they keep repeating.
Specifically in VR chat, there's a lot of people who will end up being on the outside of a conversation, and I think that's totally fine if they want to do that or not. And so a lot of the time mutes are very difficult, or just in general, people who act like NPCs who don't really do much and just stand around.
I'd say it's just like it's people conforming to everyday life and doing as people are expected to do. There's nothing wrong with it inherently. I'd say people conforming is something that just happens.
I'm assuming it's like someone who like kind of like folds into like social standards. and allow their behavior to be formed by the society around them or the community that they've been introduced into. It could shape their personality or how they act in society, because it could either make it bad or good, and it could really like impact how people live daily, or how the person who's being a conformist lives daily, and how they see the world, or how their overall mental health could be.
I'm gonna assume it means someone who just kind of adheres to the status quo of the rest of society. So like, stick with whatever people say as law, and they just cling to ideas that are more generally accepted, stuff like that.
An NPC is basically non-playable character which you can't control yourself, but you can also interact with. Say for instance, if it was like from video games, you always get NPCs everywhere. I guess in VR chat you also have your NPCs, though I haven't seen many of them, but they can tell you stuff about how to do stuff in the game or in the specific world that you're in. Like if you're playing stuff where you have to defeat a horde of zombies or something, you might have like an NPC there that'll tell you how things work, how to do stuff.
The actual definition is when someone conforms or changes their ideals or beliefs to kind of fit into society. I believe in that. I believe people do that, and I think it's sad because individuality isn't a thing anymore, or at least it's dying out. People want to be a certain way. They want to be like a certain celebrity or YouTuber or influencer or whatever. I think it's a real shame to see people's individuality just kind of fleet out the window,
We've established that NPC behavior is really just another way to spell out conformity, which is when an individual changes their own ideas or beliefs, or even their behavior to appeal to a social norm, to avoid standing out. Let's look at Darren Brown's remote control social experiment. Conducted in 2011, the experiment was made to test how people would act when they were anonymous compared to when they weren't. 2 audiences were selected, with one audience wearing masks to hide their faces. The audiences viewed a show where they could choose what happened to the main actor via majority vote, and the options usually consisted of a good option and a bad option. The experiment found that the anonymous audience chose the worst option almost always, whereas the unmasked audience usually chose the better option. The point being, anonymity can affect your decisions in how you act around others, albeit for the better or for the worse. Anonymity can result in non-conforming behavior. Now, you could argue that the anonymous individuals were conforming with each other when voting on negative results. However, this would still be considered abnormal to anyone not wearing a mask. The same can be said about virtual reality. It gives a sense of safety when you're embodying an avatar that isn't your own skin. It's like another mask, both literally and figuratively.
It's kind of made for me like enjoying to talk to strangers, but yeah, once I get my headset on, I start feeling better. I talk more. Like today I didn't had a very good day, but once I put my headset on, I just open and I've been talking for hours and hours and I feel good. I feel like it has changed the perspective how I approach people. Like I approach people more openly. Like I'll ask questions about like what they do. I just get very interested in the people because I realize how inspiring some people are, and I just really dig myself into them. My behaviors from VR just slowly start coming outward. Like I've been learning things here and I've slowly been using them in the real world when I have my headset off. So like asking these questions of interest I really got that from out of VR chat, just asking like okay, what are your interests, what do you do, and it really developed me socially. And I think through the use of VR chat, it's slowly putting back those missing pieces I've lost or didn't catch on. So that is something I'm very blessed for.
There's a ton of different kinds of people. So we have one side, which are the people who use virtual reality as a way to escape their actual personal lives. And I think that's a somewhat healthy way of finding out who you are, who your people are, and what your passions are. A lot of the time, especially because of COVID, it's very difficult to know who you are at a young age, or even in college, it's very difficult because you can't really have that kind of communication. So on the positive end, I think VR chat is a great way to find out about yourself and just become more experienced with socializing with people in case you're not like much of a social kind of person. The negative side though is definitely the amount of freedom given to people with bad intentions, and thankfully for the block button, we can just ignore that, but a lot of the time it just feels like it's just a lot on that side, and it can really negatively impact a lot of people's mental states.
I could say it has a positive impact. I probably would have gone fairly insane during COVID if I didn't have stuff like VR. You don't get to talk to people from the other side of the world every day. Like, you can see somewhat eye to eye with them, which is crazy for something online. I think it's something that's relatively good, and like anything, including moderation, it should be used in moderation. It's developed by the right people. I'd say it could turn into something quite good. On the other hand, though, if you let the corporations such as like Meta or Facebook run rampant in it, you've seen what Facebook can do. They've taken apart whole communities, and generally, I'd say they aren't healthy for VR.
Over time, it can be actually pretty good, because people like myself who struggle with anxiety or social anxiety, they can really get out of their shell and, start to socialize more often and more positive and be more self-aware of how to interact or what really make people tick or how comfortable they can be with themselves. And it can be negative. There's a lot of bad people, hateful people, and toxic people in VR, but if you just block it out or just try to deal with it in a positive manner, it can really be good. If you don't take breaks here and there, you can really be chronically like in VR, and then you start actually yourself growing tired of it. Like, it's gonna feel like a chore.
Does it affect people outside? Yes, absolutely. If you get too comfortable on an application like VR chat, there's no social cues or really any rules that are, well, obviously there's the terms of service, but there's nothing that anybody really adheres to. So you have people that act like average individuals, but then the moment they throw on the headset, they are absolute madmen, just menaces to society that you could ever imagine. But then, you've also got people who apps like this, help them come out of their shells a bit. I was always pretty all right at making friends. I was that kid in high school where, I had a close circle of friends, but I was kind of acquainted with everyone. I was kind of a face in the crowd that everyone recognized, but no one knew. To some people, it really helps relieve that meeting new people. I firmly believe that some people, those social skills that you kind of pick up here can correlate to said person's behavior outside of all these ones and zeros around us. I know people that have become, more outgoing because of it, and some people that are just, again, absolute menaces.
It's 50-50, I would say, because some people use it as a way to escape their harsh realities, or they use it as a way because they have difficulties in the real world conversing with other people. Whilst in VR, it's a lot easier because you're not showing your actual face. You're in a model that you just want to pick and just mingle with other people. I would like to think people act like how they wish they could act in VR. Like, they wish they could act a certain way in the real world, but of course with social norms and things in the real world, you can't really do so much without either offending someone or someone being judgmental or looking upon the things you do. Whilst in VR, you could just do whatever you want. People are extremely accepting. I feel like it is a good thing, especially for those who can't do much, as in, like, maybe they have a disability that impairs them to do certain things. It's a nice way for them to reach out and get to know other people and that kind of stuff.
I'm gonna say it has a positive influence, honestly, in my personal opinion, because VR chat allows people to be who they want to be. I mean, I wouldn't have done what I do today if it wasn't for this. I mean, I have my own custom avatar. I talk to people however I want. There's no real boundaries in VR chat. You can say what you want, be who you want, and nobody's really gonna give a shit.
But what happens when we remove these masks? When do we use virtual reality not to hide ourselves, but to explore who we truly are? In VR, we can become anyone or anything, and we can interact with others who are doing the same. This allows us to shed the social norms and expectations that society has placed upon us and experiment with different personalities, behaviors, and ways of thinking. In a sense, virtual reality can become a tool for self-discovery. I find VR chat to be a consistently good example for this, because users can use their own avatars and explore a vast virtual world filled with other players, each with their own unique avatar and personality and everything. In this world, there are no physical barriers, no societal expectations, and no real-life consequences. This allows users to let go of their inhibitions and interact with others in a way that they might not be able to in real life. However, does this mean that virtual reality is a free pass to be whoever we want, with absolutely no regard for others?
I think you have to draw the line if you started playing more than just, let's just say, 10 to 8 hours a day, because I feel like that is too much. Because you will start losing your sanity in your perspective of where you are. You kind of get lost. Everything is toxic if you do it too much, and I don't get on to VR that much as well. Well, I get on, but I think I know my limits. I know where or when to stop.
I feel like it could be a great thing in the future, but I feel like it could also just produce a lot of mirror dwellers, and I'd be very freaked out if I saw a bunch of people sitting by a mirror the entire day at like a restaurant. I personally would be scared for my life. On the positive side of if people got more into VR chat, I think that a lot of people will be more free with themselves and more open, although we got a lot of that with Gen Z at the moment. A lot of people just speaking their mind, which is great. I think it's fun. It definitely depends on the kind of people you normally hang out with. I think the line that can be drawn is what I'm saying affecting other people in a negative way, or am I contributing something that everyone can appreciate? Am I being kind, or am I being rude?
People in VR are great. It's one of those things where everybody is kind of struggling to do the same thing because the technology is so new and so niche. Because, like, you get people like Meta trying to bring VR to the forefront, and if you've been following recent news, you know how horribly that's going for them. They're definitely your trolls for sure. You'll occasionally run into, like, the little Quest squeaker guy that's probably about, like, armrest height and where's the brush avatar. As long as you're not doing anything super out there controversial, like being a neo-Nazi or anything like that, act like you would in real life, and don't go running around with your ass hanging out. It's a stupid metaphor.
In the future, for example, the movie Ready Player One, how everyone was always online on the game, I feel like something like that might happen. A lot of people might start getting onto VR every day and like socializing, and it could be really good because a lot of people you could meet really good people and potentially, you know, actual people that you could actually genuinely say you love. But in a negative manner, it could lead to like, it could be very, very dangerous. It can like lead to like a lot of mental health declining, a lot of people getting very angry, very upset. Depression could be getting worse because of how negatively people talk about you or how people interact with you. The line should be drawn at generally telling people to just harm themselves or to actually mean harm towards other people. That goes with real life too. And another line should be drawn at, you shouldn't be like giving out extremely personal information, like where your exact location is on the world, or your address, or your IP email and all of that, for your own safety and the safety of your friends and your family that could come along with it.
When parents give their kids headsets and just kind of unsupervised access to the internet, you know, you could have your next Christian on the horizon. It's quite literally like dropping your kid in the middle of Manhattan, minus the, you know, kidnapping aspect of it. It's like you don't know who you're gonna meet. And, you know, if you don't monitor your kids on something like this, they are influenced by so many people around them. And you just have to wonder exactly, like, how the future is going to turn out if this is the next generation. I don't want to say that line is drawn the moment someone takes offense to something, because you never know who's going to take offense to what. Some people are you know, made of sterner stuff. I feel like the moment that you are deliberately trying to just be a dick, the moment you're just deliberately trying to be rude is when that line needs to be drawn. Like, if someone comes in like a Klansman avatar, obviously that's fucked up, dude. Like, no part of being a Klansman is self-expression, G. The fucking Doritos Locos Tacos from Taco Bell lasted longer than your damn Confederacy. Yeah, no, the line firmly needs to be drawn in the sand once people are just like trying to get laughs and ha-has out of just being an asshole, you know? And I get there's no like aspects of physical harm, you know, that's not self-expression. That's not being funny. That's just, you're just an unlikable person.
It's fine to be who you want to be, but of course there are still other people out there that, you know, might not be comfortable with certain things, and I feel like we as a whole should respect other people's boundaries in a certain way. You know, you can't go up to a child and do stupid, weird shit. Sometimes that is really not okay, depending on what you're doing and all that. You just need to be very mindful, respect other people's stuff. Like if they're not into it, just say, okay, that's fine, and just do something else. Yes, VR can be a good thing, but also it will come with its negative drawbacks. You have people who are in VR chat maybe 24/7 with, you know, little to no outside of VR life. Or they gotten so far into VR that they might have taken up drinking or drug usage or anything like that. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like, yes, it's great for one thing, but on the other hand, depending on the certain individual and how their brain works, it could be a bad thing.
I've met some people on VR chat that actually live by whatever this persona is, whatever they're wearing on. It could be anything from those realistic avatars, I call them mirror dwellers. the people that like stare into their own avatars all day long, sitting there doing nothing. I think it's obsessive, and it could become a problem. I mean, these people sit in front of these mirrors for hours. I mean, I don't want to be one to judge, but I think that's pretty psychotic in my opinion. There's a certain place where you should be like, I shouldn't be doing this that much. You become obsessed with this image of this person that you're looking at. I have a friend who is a mirror dweller, and I've asked them multiple times, what's the point? And what they tell me is they love the way it looks and they want to look like that. I mean, from their perspective, it's more of a, I wish I could be this type of deal. I mean, I don't personally get it, but you know, you do you. People in VR chat are weird. It's a crazy society, or a community even, and the anonymity of it, I think, is what allows people to be who they want to be without being judged. You can be anything. I don't think VR chat is a bad thing for society. I believe that it can push us forward to connecting with people. Even I've had a lot of experience even doing interviews with random people that I find in VR chat. You know, there's a lot of crazy different people on here that they don't feel like they're heard in the real world, if that makes sense.
There is a fine line between self-expression and harmful behavior, even in the virtual world. While virtual reality can be a safe place for exploration and experimentation, it's important to remember that our actions can still have an impact on others, even if they're virtual. Just like in real life, there are social norms and expectations within virtual communities, and disregarding them can lead to negative consequences. So where does it end? The answer is that it doesn't. Virtual reality is a constantly evolving technology that will continue to challenge our ideas about identity, community, social norms, and everything. As we continue to explore the possibilities of virtual reality, it's important to keep in mind the impact of our actions that can have on others, and strive for a balance between self-expression and responsibility.
VR chat gets things done. It's so wonderful how quickly you can meet a person. Like, I can go to a Black Cat right now and meet about 10 people in the span of 10 minutes? If I walk outside my door, that doesn't happen. Like, I can walk for miles and miles, and I wouldn't meet maybe a few people I would like, maybe. It's wonderful how people, like this place has opened a form of freedom because we get the tools in our hands. We have the opportunity to make everything, and that's wonderful because people get together and they learn and they adapt, and it's wonderful. Like, it's amazing how happy you can be here because of that freedom.
I think for me, on a personal level, VR chat and VR has really actually made me be able to act like myself in my personal life and make more friends, the kind of people I want to look for and I want to hang out with. And it's actually improved my life a lot, because in the past I've been very quiet and just very conservative about my expression of who I am, and just not wanting to say anything just to accidentally trigger something in someone. I mean, on social media, everywhere you see everyone's getting triggered about everything, so you never know where you can go and what you can say about anything at this point. I know I say this like a broken record, be myself, be who you are, but it's true. I mean, I feel like VR chat, it's a social game for a reason. You're there to be social with other people, to hang out, and I think it's a wonderful experience, especially for people who aren't very comfortable in the beginning with social interaction. Definitely there is less of a chance to act like an NPC when you go on VR chat because of what you're exposed to, all the different kinds of people, while when you're living in your personal life, there's only a couple people that you're exposed to, and you express yourself as that mask in your personal life almost all the time because of those people you're surrounding yourself with. And I feel like VR chat is just a great opportunity to meet all sorts of different kinds of people.
Done by the right people, VR is something that could be great. Done by the wrong people, it could be terrible. Don't let VR end up like the internet, which is ruled by advertisers and corporations. That's my bottom line. Also, subscribe to your YouTube channel and insert all the plugs. There you go.
I'd like to say that VR is a great way to open up to the world and to meet people that you could really be good friends with. It is also a very good way of expressing who you could and how colorful your personality could be. It is a good way to find people that's similar to you, that find the same hobbies as you, or play the games that you do, or do the talents that you do as well.
I firmly don't believe it's had a major impact on us as a society. It's still kind of a very niche circle in the gaming world, and especially just in the tech world in general. VR, I think, is just it's a beautiful concept if you don't go too far with it. I know there are some people that need to learn to separate reality from virtual reality. Over the past 3 years, I really appreciate the things outside of VR. You have to make time for your friends, make time for your family. Go try some new foods, go see some new things. But I mean, this virtual reality should never be used as a replacement for reality. As far as social stuff goes, making friends and meeting people, that's fine as long as you don't solely depend on it as your social life. And I know I'm a large hypocrite there because, I'm in college, I don't really talk to anyone outside of a select few people, and then, my friends from high school. But as long as you maintain healthy boundaries between reality, virtual reality, it's a beautiful thing. It lets people connect from all over the world. You meet new people you never would have thought you'd ever meet. As wobbly as the industry may be at the moment, I am hopeful that it eventually becomes more than just a little niche and is a top up there medium for socializing.
I feel like sometimes maybe older aged people get a lot of backlash. Personally me, I'm 33 years old, and there has been times where I was just hanging out with my friends, and then I get a group of people who run over and say, oh, you're a pedo or something like that, and it's just that's not true. I just want to hang out with people, meet cool individuals, maybe through my personal experiences help them with whatever troubles they're going through. There was a case where I met a 65-year-old gentleman on here, and he just wanted to chill out because he has disabilities, and he thought, oh, this is a cool thing, well, I might as well try it. And he was just going around character worlds, but he again was being harassed by people calling them a pedophile, that they just want to find children and stuff. And I personally feel like that's a shame that it's come to that kind of conclusion where if you're older, you're this certain thing just because of other stuff, and we just like to goof off just as much as the next teenager, or find something that gives us a mean to do things or something.
With my years of experience in VR chat, I believe that it can be a really, really good thing. It can bring so many people together. I've gotten a better understanding of certain fandoms, like, this is going to sound outlandish, but the furry fandom gets a bad rap, but I've talked to a few of them that are on here that like to represent themselves in their furry avatar or whatever. I also have met a priest. I've met a priest that does weekly sermons in VR chat. I think that is phenomenal. I mean, if people can get together in an environment like this, I think it's wonderful. You know, if you can get together from anywhere in the world, see your friends, actually interact with them in real time, I think it's beautiful.